Today is Chavtes Tammuz, Tavshin Ayin Hey, July 16th, 2015. We're interviewing Joel Engel, who is a survivor and had the great honor of being part of the conquest to retake Eretz Yisrael and to give us the ability to have the great gift and good fortune that we have today with the land of Israel. I am Ben-Sion Gaisinski, Chabad Rabbi of Merkez Menachem Chabad, the district office for Chabad activities in the Bethesda Chevy Chase area of Maryland. All right, look at the camera. You're perfect. Okay. Y'all, please tell us. Start by telling us your name and date of birth, and the place you were born. Name, date of birth, and the place of your birth.
My name is Joel Engel. Tibor is my middle name. Actually, Tibor used to be a Hungarian name. When I got to Israel, I changed it to Joel, okay? So my name is Joel Engel. Over here, I changed it to Joel. So I'm Joel. I born at 1930, April 27, in Beshenov, called a village in Czechoslovakia.
What was your Hebrew name at birth?
My Hebrew name was Issachar, but I changed it to Joel because it was more convenient to me, yes.
Okay. And describe your family at the time of your birth, your father, your mother.
My father is Shandor Alex Mordechai Engel. He born in Felső Seminary, also with Czechoslovakia, at 1896, December 24th.
Question, describe the name of your parents and the size of your family, brothers and sisters, etc.
Yeah, my father, his name was Shandor Alexander Mordechai Engel. My father, he born in Felső Seminary in Czechoslovakia at 1896 in December 24th. My mother was Serene Jokel Engel, which is she born at 1899 in Velká Slovakia. I got a brother actually. His name is Joseph. He born at 1925. I had a sister, Aranka, which is Lata, born in 1938. I had also a little brother, John, we call him Janu, Janika. He born at 1940, September 15, also in Slovakia.
What was your mother's Hebrew name?
My mother's name was Sarah. Her name was Sarah, Yokel Sarah.
Question. Describe your father and mother's profession and personality. In other words, tell me a little bit about what your father did. Name the village that you were born in and what the surroundings of your village was like. Describe the village and what your father did for a living and how your mother spent her day.
Well, we live in Czechoslovakia before 1938, which is after 1938. My grandmother, she passed away, and we moved to a village called Tehla in Slovakia. At 1938, the Hungarian captured the village, and we became Hungarian and called it Tehel, okay? My father, he was working, they're mostly farming, working hard as farming, and so as my mother. They lived in a village, and they worked hard in a village.
What was family like at home?
And the family, well, we had a beautiful family. We had a beautiful family. The only problem it was a hard living, and also we've been all the Jews in a village. We live the only Jews in a village in Tehran, which is when every Saturday, every Shabbat, we go to the synagogue. We have to walk 8 kilometers every Saturday and every holidays. So we have a minyan. Sometimes also the villages around us, they have the same problem. So in every village live a Jew or two Jews. So we all walk to that 8 kilometers or whatever, each village, whatever they had, and so have a minyan. And sometimes we had, sometimes we don't. It was a very hard, because in the village was a shochet, who, if we have to get something rishchot, as an animal, a chicken or a goose or whatever, we have to go 8 kilometers to the shochet to have it done. And if it wasn't kosher, we have to go back home again, which is we had no transportation, we had no, we had to go with a bicycle, or walk over with a bicycle.
What was the name of this village that people would gather at? The shul was, and the shochet was what village?
The village called Nagy-Győröd, which is a big, not just big, okay, a big Győröd. And in that village also was only about 2-3 where the shochet lived, and was the synagogue, which is a little house. And so...
200-300 or 2-3 people? 200-300 people or 2-3 people?
2-3 people, 2-3 people. And so that's why from all villages come together the Jews, and so we have to have a minyan, yes.
How old were you about this at this time that you're describing?
Well, I was that time about 10-year-old. When I became 10-year-old, my father, which was asked to go to learn Jewish history, because he is the one taught us how to read the Aleph Bet, how to read, and to know more about the Jewish religion. We went to a city called Ershakuivar, which is Slovak Nové Zámky. And we went over there, and so we've been poor, we've been poor, so the Jewish people, the Jewish community, that was a city, maybe a couple of thousand Jews living in the same village, and they help us. So the way they help us, they gave us, each one of us, me, my brother and my sister, my brother Joseph and my sister Aranka. So each family gave us a day to have to eat over there, okay? And that day we had 7 days, so every day we've been eating in a different family.
Again, how old were you at the time that you traveled to Nové Zámky, and what year was that on the English date?
I went to Nové Zámky, that was at 1940, and I was 10-year-old. I was 10-year-old, and so that's the way we was able to learn about the Jewish history and learn more about all the Aleph Bet, etc., right, yes.
Next, tell us how life started to change. When did things start to change, and how did they start to change?
Well, it started to change it started to change when at 1943, when Joseph went to Budapest to be a sheet metal man. And so when came home at 1943, he told to my father, well, it looks like, he was in Budapest, it looks like the Germans going to occupy at Budapest, at Hungary, and I believe it's going to be really hard for the Jews. I believe we better wrap up and leave the village where we lived, only Jews in a village. My father said, look son, I born in this village over here. I went to school over here. I went to the service over here. I'm only Jew working hard. Who would bother me over here? He said, nowhere in the forest. My brother said, Father, well, if in that case, I'm going to take Joel with me, okay? I can take him to Budapest and ask my father permission. My father said, son, if you think that way, go ahead. So that the life started to change, okay?
How old were you then? And
I was that time 13-year-old. 12, going to be 13.
Joseph was how much older than you? And
Joseph was 5 years older than I am. He born 1925.
okay. Continue telling us how things progressed. In other words, what happened at that point? You went to Budapest and then...
I went to Budapest and I want to learn also an occupation, a toolmaker. Joseph put me to learn a toolmaker. Of course, I only was about 13-year-old. All they was reach the machinery, whatever it is. So I went to learn that. And I was in Budapest already several months when the Germans came in again. The Germans came in.
Were you and Joseph together then?
Yeah, me and Joseph, we've been together. And the same way, I didn't mention it, like we lived in Nowy Zamki in a tailoring shop where daytime the tailor's been working, nighttime we open a folding bed, and that's why I've been sitting in a tailoring shop. Then a salesman came to Nowy Zamki, to Ersekújvár, and told Joseph, he said, Joseph, why you gonna stay over here in a small town? If you come to Budapest, you already learned a trade to be a sheet metal man, you can earn more money. So my brother Joseph told him, well, how I'm gonna do that? His name was Arpad. How I'm gonna do that? He said, listen, if you go to Budapest, my parents over there got the same tailoring shop, and you can do the same over there like you do over here. So Joseph agreed with him, and he went also to Budapest, and so when I got to Budapest also, so I've been in the same situation as sleeping in a tailoring shop. After a few months, when we couldn't anymore traveling, Jews couldn't travel anymore. So we couldn't go home anymore because of, and our parents been over there. So after a few months later, we got a letter from my mother, and they put them in a concentration. They came, the Germans, or the Hungarian fascist team. They took them in the wagons, and they took them in the next town called Vrabla in Hungarian, and they took them and put them in a ghetto. So they took all the Jews from the whole neighborhood, from all the villages, and they got them over there in a ghetto in Vrabla, in Verabély. After a short while, we got a letter from my mother and told us they are where they are. So we know what happened and where are they. After a little while, they transport and put them in the train and they transport them to Auschwitz. My mother, my father, my brother, and my sister. And that was the last time when I hear about them, from them. Then, few months later, Joseph took him to the working camp. Joseph was 17 years already, and what happened?
The Germans took him?
The Hungarian, the Germans, the Hungarian, the first is Nazim, okay? The Hungarian Nazim, right?
Describe a little bit of what was going on in Budapest, how the Germans came in, how the things happened. Did soldiers came in? Describe what happened.
Yeah, Budapest, actually, what it happened since I was 13-year-old, so I was not that long in Budapest from the village, but again, what I did, I went working for a old age home. And from that old age home, I was carrying with tricycle food from the main kitchen out to the old age home, to the senior citizen homes, whatever it is, in Budapest. And so then they start to put the Jews in a ghetto, right? So what they did in Budapest, they closed down in 7 Kerület, the 7 I would get anyway, they closed down streets, okay, and they made a ghetto out of it in Budapest.
Who was doing this? The Hungarian soldiers were doing it under the direction of the Germans,
That's
or
correct.
the Germans were doing it themselves.
No. The Hungarian soldiers, they call them nyilasok. Nyilas, that's when the arrow, the green arrow that use them, okay? They under the German supervision, okay? But the Hungarians been doing that rest, the Hungarians. So then they took the Jews.
Were they just as vicious as the German soldiers?
Worse even. They've been even worse. So first of all, what they did.
Say that, because they didn't hear my question.
Yes.
Say that the Hungarian soldiers were worse than.
Hungarian soldiers, okay?
No, they didn't hear my question, so they didn't understand what you said. You have to say the Hungarian soldiers were worse than the. Say it.
That's what I said. The Hungarian soldiers were worse than the Germans, right? But they took the order. They had to take the orders from the Germans, right, to do that, okay? And so then what happened? The way it started the whole thing, some houses, some buildings in Budapest, they put houses as a Jewish. They put Jewish stars, and Jews have to live in that building. Okay, so it took building up from where we used to live in Vashpapalutsa 6. Now the 9 Vashpapalutsa 9, they make it as a Jewish house. So what I did, they took all the Jews in the same building. All right, and from that building you couldn't allow to get out. If you get out, they catch you, they kill you, or they take you to the ghetto. So we also lived in that building, but somehow, I don't want to go into the ghetto. So I get out from there and went to work in this kitchen, which wasn't the Jewish kitchen, okay? And with tricycle, I've been carrying the food from senior citizen homes, whatever it is.
The senior citizen center was not in the ghetto. The Jewish.
No, not the Jewish. That wasn't Jewish homes.
It wasn't a Jewish, or was it?
The kitchen was a Jewish kitchen, but the home wasn't the Jewish home. The senior citizen homes, because the Jews, they took them to the ghetto.
Yeah. So why was the kosher kitchen making food for the non-Jewish?
Well, that's the way it worked. I really don't know why, but that's the way it worked. I know because it started as a Jewish kitchen and working for Jewish homes, okay, for Jewish seniors also. But the Jewish seniors, they took them to the ghetto, and the kitchen still stay working. Still stay working, so I work over there. Then, so Joseph went to the working camp.
How did Joseph survive? Just because he was young, and they allowed him because.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. So these the Hungarian soldiers, they came into the Jewish buildings when there was not a Jewish building with the yellow star, with the Magen David, and took everybody down to the street, to the yard, to the court. So everybody came down and line up everybody. And when we stand over there, everybody, I was 13-year-old, I was short. They took you. You stay here, you go there. And Joseph, since he was already 17-year-old, took him in the right side. And they are the one that took them to the working camp. And we young ones said, you guys go back. So Joseph was in a working camp, and I decided already that the Budapest was already under fire from the Russians, been shooting Budapest. Okay, I decide to go was a house protected by the Swiss security, whatever it is, and was children in my age over there. It's called Garajutca 42. I went over there and I stayed over there until the Budapest got free by the Russians, okay? After I went to that place, to the tailoring shop, when we've been living, right, and see who is came back over there, and how can I find my brother, or where? So I find a guy who came back from a working camp. His name was Robbie. I said, Robbie, did you ever see my brother or whatever it is? He said, yeah, I saw your brother, he's looking for you. So finally, I told him where I am. I was in the Garajutca, in the protected by the Swedish. So, so he came over there, he find me, okay? He find me, and then, so we became together, okay? The life, as I said, it was very hard, because we still, I went, oh yeah, and the place where I was learning, learning as a sheet metal man, well, the Germans, they rob everything over there, and even it happened, the owner, he came back, I met him, came back on a working camp, and all the people who, they've been working for him and everything, they go him, they took everything away from him, so we have to start again with stretch. And so after a while, yeah, so because Joseph, my brother, actually, he lived in Szeged. Szeged is a city down in the south in Hungary, and that city got captured about 8 months earlier than Budapest, because the Russians been fighting hard in Budapest, because anyway. So Joseph then, he met me, and also he met the people who they lived, their parents, they lived the same building, and they had a girl, her name was Livia. So Joseph met her, she came back she was in the ghetto, and she came back, and so Joseph took us, me, and Livia, with his mother. His father, he lived in that Yellow Star house. He went out after the dog. The Hungarian catch caught him outside and never came back. They took him away, or killed him, or whatever it is. He never came back.
This is Livia's father.
Livia's father, right. He never came back. But his mother came back. And so Joseph took us down to Szeged over there.
You don't mean his, you mean her mother.
Excuse me?
You mean her mother.
Her mother, yes. And
how long did that go on? And begin to describe how you got to Israel. In other words, take us from here to how you and your brother split up. In other words, how did it?
Yeah, how we split up.
Start from where you are right now and get to the point where you and Joseph split up and how you got to Israel.
Yeah, I also didn't mention it. After that. I was selling cigarettes in the street in Budapest, in the main street, by the MK Coffee House. And there's a guy walked to me, and he asked me. He said, "You are a Jewish guy?" I said, I was afraid to tell him. I don't know who is he. I told him, yeah. He said, "Oh, why are you doing this over here?" He said, "I take you a place where a lot of children, where they lost their parents and everybody, there was a pluga. And it was Rakospalota. So,
which means what? What does that mean?
Excuse me?
What does Rakospalota?
Rakospalota, it's a name of the place, like Fulton, okay? The name of the place, okay? Rakospalota. And so he took me over there, and was a lot of kids like I am, okay? Jewish guys, Jewish children, boys and girls. And we stay over there for a while. After a while, about 4, 5, 6 months, they've been organizing to take young people to Israel, right? So in meanwhile, Joseph was married, and he had a little girl, Judy, okay? And so I want to tell to...
I'm sorry. How old were you at this point, and how old was Joseph?
I was at that time 15, going to be 16, 15, and Joseph was 21, okay? Something like that. Okay?
How old was Livia?
And Livia was a year older than I am, okay? So she was 16, 17, something like that. And then I want to tell to Joseph, well, Joseph, they told us they're going to take us to Israel, and we're gonna leave. So Joseph, he said, listen, if you go, I go with you.
What year was this?
That was at 1946. I said, okay. So what happened? So he wrapped up and everything, and we went. We got to the border of Austria. We got a border of Austria. We stayed over there for a couple of weeks until we was able to transfer to further up the other road. They took us to Vienna. And we've been in Vienna, was called a Rothschild Hospital, or a big hospital. That's where they organized all the Jews who will take them to transport them to Israel, okay? So we got over there, and we stayed over there for a short while. And Joseph said, okay, he said, well, he said, until because what he did, he closed the door, left everything over there, and left. That's it. So Joseph said, he's going to go back to Hungary. He lived with his wife and Judy over there. And I be back soon, and as soon I liquidate everything what I had over there, I left over there, locked the door. By the time Joseph came back, they transport us, the young ones, which is the young one took us to Germany, to Munich, to Dachau, and they stayed behind. In between, they closed the border, then east and west. So we got separated for 25 years. So from there, in a cattle wagons, they transport us to French, to Marseille. Nighttime, we can hear when the driver or the shaliach was talking to the guard over there, this and that, and we've been like cattle in the trucks, in the big trucks. Nobody was say anything, and just to be quiet, and until they took us over the borders. So we got to French, to Marseille, and we've been over there for a month or so, a short while. In Marseille, they put us in like a fishing boat. The boat called La Negev.
What describe Jewish life? Were the people not religious, anti-religious? What was Jewish life then? What with these
in my group wasn't, because we got trained, we got a communist training, we got communist teachers, okay? So they told us more about the materialism. Even we've been believers. We came from the Jewish families, like the friend of mine, like Moshe Teichtal. His father was a big rabbi in one of the cities in Hungary. So we all know about the religions. We've been religious, but happened to be, we fell into the called Dror Habonim, which was like a Shomer HaTzayer, Dror Habonim. It's a communist organizations, okay? So the teachers who gave it to us was teaching us about the materialism, about the this and that, so nothing about the religious. You're asking me how my parents been religious. My parents been religious. Our house was 100% kosher. Kosher. Like I said before, if to lishchot a chicken or anything, we have to go 8 kilometers to Shochet. We lived in a village, the only Jews. if a salesman who was selling something in a village and happened to be was a Jewish and been looking for if there's any Jewish family in the village, so that's sure, we were the only Jewish people. He came over there, and example, he stayed over there. My father asked him in the morning, did you put on tefillin today? Because my father had been putting, my father, my grandfather, they all been putting on tefillin every day. So before he got anything, he had to put in a tefillin. He had to pray. And of course, they've been talking about
that means he made the salesman.
He made a salesman put in a tefillin, right, exactly, right. He had to put in a tefillin, he's Jewish, okay? And usually, those days, Rabbi, those days, the Jews in Europe, everywhere, they've all been religious people. I mean, you know, they all go to the shul, they all pray, they all, like I said, in our house, example, hardly we can afford to buy a matzah or Pesach, but we, if nothing else, we bought it. We had it.
Okay, now continue what you were saying. So you were a group of kids, you were in Marseille, and talk about how you got to Israel.
Okay, and then we got to Marseille. In Marseille, they put us in a fishing boat, which is a small boat called a Negev. And we've been 56 days on the water with a fishing boat. They told us, they didn't tell us, I mean, but we're going to get down to Caesarea. Caesarea also was a communist kibbutz, okay? Not a religious kibbutz. And we're going to get to Caesarea, not to Haifa, because we've been in a boat and we stayed down in shelves, sleeping in the shelves down in the bottom of the boat, wasn't allowed to get on the top because the British been searching for Mapilim. And been searching, so that only time we was able to get up to the fishing boat at the top when nighttime. Otherwise daytime we couldn't get on. And so we've been hardly anything because of, you know, that many days we stayed over there. Finally, we got about 10 kilometers away from Caesarea. Or they told us if it's the case, maybe we'll have to jump out and swim out to the shore to the kibbutz Caesarea. And all of a sudden, nighttime, we see big 2 ships, British ships. They came, they said, stop your boat. So we had the shlichim, we're not going to stop it. So they came with the big ships out to our boat and get us out. They beat us up. They put us in the British boat. We tried to make strike. We're not going to eat and this and that. I mean, we've been about 100 people on that boat. And they took us to Cyprus.
How old are you?
I was that time 16 going to 17.
What did you have with you?
Nothing. Whatever I had, I had a chatzotzra, a bugel, because I was bugeling a chevra all the time, morning, evening, and I had a bugel, and I wanted to get away from me. I don't want to give it to them. The guy knocked the hell out of me and took it away from me. But anyway, he took it from me and never gave it back to me. So they took us to Cyprus Island. That time Cyprus had already at least 25,000-30,000 Jews already, Mapilim, who they want to go to Israel and they got caught by the war, okay? Cyprus was a tough life, very tough life. You had fence all around, actually 2-3 fence around. Every 100 yards is a tower with a British soldier with a machine gun. Inside, you have these barracks, these army barracks, which is at least 50 guys will sleep in a barracks. That barracks has no windows, nothing. And Cyprus also is warm over there. Is no windows, nothing. So it was burning up, okay? Even the bathrooms they had, the men's and the women's bathrooms, there is no doors on it. Food, well, we had dry food, we had dry potato, dry milk, whatever dry, but limited, okay? Water, limited. When you get to the bathroom to take a shower, you stand in a line, by the time you turn, they shut off the water. So it was a tough life, a very hard life in Cyprus.
That you're talking about the treatment from the British
The
soldiers.
treatment of the British. And the painful situation was all after what we went through in Hungary and everywhere. Here we go again back in a concentration camp. And to get out from there, actually, where you can get out, it's an ocean, it's an island, it's an ocean all around. So you cannot go even nowhere. So it was a very hard situation over there in Cyprus also.
Tell me the story of how you guys made a strike in the Big Seder. You made a
In the Big Seder, one day we decide, we, the Shlichim, whatever, organized, we're going to have a Big Seder over there in Passover. Well, how are we going to do that, okay? Where you can put a couple of thousand people to sit around one table or whatever. So was a big yard over there, a big area over there, like a sport, for sport, whatever. We dug down in the ground, like chairs, make like chair, like table, whatever it is. And then we celebrate the Passover over there with a couple of thousand people. After that, 8 months we've been in Cyprus, 8 months spent in Cyprus. Finally we got our quote. It's going release people by quote, okay? So somehow came our quote, and we got another concentration place called Atlit.
What year is this now?
That was at early 1947. We've been in Atlit for about a few weeks, and from the kibbutzes, they came out shlichim, and they tried to take everybody in a kind of place in a kibbutz, which is they belong to the I went to kibbutz Hefziba Beit Alpha in Emek Israel. So we've been 30 boys and 30 girls, which is started from Hungary, and we've been all the way through, right? So from there, they took us to Kibbutz Hefziba. Kibbutz Hefziba, for us, it was a heaven. A heaven when we sit in that Heder Ochel, to see the birds in the windows. After Cyprus, after all that way we came out, since from the beginning, what we went through and everything, we got over there, we felt like we are in heaven. And of course, we all been children without parents. We lost our parents in concentration camps and everywhere. So here we go. So in a kibbutz, we've been already Aliyat Noar, okay? Which is they make us half a day working and half a day learning, okay? Learning the language, Hebrew language. Hardly, we've been there few months, we already shooting from Emek Beit Shan, from everywhere, they start the fight in Israel.
This is the Arabs.
One of the guys, he get up, he said, guys, what are we going to sit over here? We have to go, we have to fight for our freedom, for our country. We've been 2 weeks in Kfar Yona, we got a training for 2-3 weeks in the Palmach, and we went into the war. We went first to Machane Israel. That's why the day too far, Ben Gurion Airport, and also we had in near Yerushalayim called Malech Hamisha. From there we come out every night to capture Arab villages.
What group
Yes.
were you with?
I was in Khativat Harel, Gdud Revi'i, Gdud HaPortzim.
Which was part of what group?
The Palmach, which is, we had the leader, Yitzchak Sadeh, Yigal Alon, and these were our leaders over there.
Did you have a choice to go to Haganah or Palmach or the other groups? Or how did you wind up in the Palmach? Who made that choice?
Well, they took us. That's the way, okay? They did not give us a choice. We've been a chevra, and they took us as a group, boys and girls, whatever, and we've been fighting all the way through. That was our choice. Now, in Cyprus was a different story, because over there already you had all kind of organization. Was Hapoel Mizrahi, was Etzel, Likud, the Etzel, Betarim, all kind of organization in Cyprus. But over there we had no. That's all they took us, and that's the way we've been.
Okay. Describe a little bit use one example of one night of fighting or whatever. Describe one experience of what it was like to fight. You took your guns, you went at night. How many were you?
The problem we had, first of all, we had no weapons. We had no weapons. We had like rifles, with a little French rifle, the short one, which is, if you shoot, it knock you down. Or the Italian, and also ammunition, we only had bullets in the pockets, and hand grenades. We had the mortar, the heavier one is a 2-pounder, which is shot from a few hundred yards, that's all. And that was our weapon. We had a machine gun called a stand. The stand was, if you knock that down, shoot the bullets. So we had a rough time to fight without weapon. But that's what we had. And we had no choice. We had no choice. We all, as I say again, we've been young, we lost our parents, we have to fight for our independence, for Israel, okay? That time, we didn't know really what it will be, how it will be, but we all been fighting.
What areas were you attacking?
That was 1947, then start 1948.
Yeah, what areas were you attacking? Where were you operating? Where?
Well, we start to operate first at Machane Israel, which is, and then to Malech Hamisha near Yerushalayim, in that area. And that's the place, I said again, every night we get out to fight and capture villages.
Describe what like one night. Describe what would happen. You would get there, or describe it.
Well,
in other words, you came, you climbed up a mountain.
Yeah,
what did you meet?
Yeah,
Stop, because I need you to tell it. I need you to tell it. You say we would come there, we would climb up the mountain, we saw the Arabs, we ran, there were 10 Arabs, we were 5. Describe it, because to people this is very interesting. Describe what was going on, when you would come out, what time of the night. Tell it like a story to your children. You came, it was about 11 o'clock at night, we would come, we would look over the mountain. Describe what you saw, literally tell it from minute to minute what was going on.
Well, again, as I say again, we get out like from Malech Hamisha, in the nice side, there's the mountainside. There's all mountains over there, okay? In a mountainside, like 100 guys line up in one line in quietly, so that cannot see us. Otherwise, if they would catch us, we are in trouble, right? So we get out over there. When we get close to the village or the place where we want to capture, we get it around, and we went, as I said, that whatever he had, the rifles, the machine guns, what we had, small machine guns, and to capture the village. And And Arabs, I'm in a village, like you had 2, 3, 500 or 1,000 people lived in that village. And we've been only about 100 people, or even less, or sometimes a makhlaka, which is about 35 people, 33 people. And so we start to shoot and scare the Arabs out. They've been shooting back, but they've been running. So until, of course, we lost people. We lost Mea Chevra, like a few guys, many guys, and we captured the village. And the Arabs just kept run away. And then we captured the village, and we kept it as a mishlat. And we kept going, and every night, another village, another village, another village. Again, if you look at like the trouble we had like in Kibbutz Hefzibah, you had Kibbutz Hefzibah Bet Alpha, which is Jewish kibbutzes, but never had a synagogue even over there. So the people, somehow, again, wasn't no kosher. Even the heder ochel, the food wasn't no kosher, and in the kibbutzim, many kibbutzes over there, as at Kibbutz Hefzibah Beit Alpha, they had only one synagogue in Harod. In Harod was about 7-8 miles from the Kibbutz Hefzibah Beit Alpha, where you was able to go to the synagogue. With many people didn't do that. Me, my friend Moshe, we used to go over there. Once in a while, couldn't go every Shabbat or holiday either. So the kibbutzes, somehow, it was kind of not religious at all. And we asked with Moshe many times the question, why? I mean, these people also, our Chevra, who came from decent Jewish families. Like I said before, in all these villages, all these people, there was believers. And what happened to them, all after when they went through, what they saw what happened to their parents and everything. So actually, as the way I said before, so we've been going out and fighting. And then, so the war was going on.
How did the war come?
Well, the Arabs been attacking us also, and we shooting back and fighting against them, and we kept going to capture places, villages, whatever it is, until it come to the end of the war. I remember one night when we captured Beersheba, we stayed down in the Wadi, Beersheba. I'm never gonna forget about that night. And we already been in Beersheba, captured Beersheba, and stayed in the Wadi, and was pouring raining. When in Israel, pouring raining, it's you know, like you're in a Wadi Beersheba, and somehow we took that one as a miklat, as a hiding places. And from there, we're gonna go and try to fight further down from Beersheba, Daroma. And that night time was pouring raining. Me and Moshe telling me, he said, Joel, we are swimming. The water have been coming actually from so hard and start to take away us with a weapon and everything, wash us away. And I never forgot about that terrible night. So anyway, so in the end, all that fighting and everything, came the independence in 1948, right? After that, we come back to Machane Israel. That was the base of the Gdud Revi'i, Chativat Harel. And from there, we got back to the kibbutz. We got back to the kibbutz Hefzibah because we've been a group together, boys and girls, Well, we had choice. Kibbutz Hefzibah was already a kibbutz 25-year-old kibbutz.
Where was this exactly? Kibbutz in near Emek Israel?
Emek Israel, right. Near Mountain Gilboa, Ragle Gilboa, Emek Israel. Near Hefzibah Bet Alpha, but Hefzibah, okay? Bet Alpha was the Shomer, Hatzair kibbutz, and Hefzibah was kibbutz Mochad. Then a chevra, we been a chevra, I said Aliyat Noar. Well, already became 18-year-old, 17-year-old, almost older age. We decide, well, what are we going to go on now from here? So, I was one of the leader of the chevra. They said, I said, well, what we should do, all after this, we should get out and go to Hityashvut. Start a new kibbutz. With the Sochnut, with giving you whatever it is, teachers and everything else, and you get out and you start a new kibbutz, okay? Some of the chevra said, no, we're not going to do that. Well, we better stay over here in the kibbutz. Hefzibah, this and that. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And some of them said, if we're going to get out, we have to get out and learn more the occupation, because I was working in a kibbutz, in a construction, okay? So I knew already a lot about that, but of course, I only was 18-year-old when the war was over already. So I decide, well, I'm going to go down to Beersheba. I got down to Beersheba, well, Beersheba was nothing that time, right? So I went to Solar Boneh. Solar Boneh was one of the bigger organizations in Israel, Solar Boneh. So I stayed in Solar Boneh for a little while. Then I decided, I was a friend of mine who worked for the government, Machleket Avodot Tziburiot, MATZ. Mechus HaGarom. So Matz was also doing all the roads and bridges and everything, and building roads to Beersheba, Eilat, Zdom, whatever it is, Mechus HaDarom. So anyway, I worked over there, and Beersheba was a rough time that time, because you couldn't get no meat, nothing, okay? So I was working also privately after work, and a lady come to me and she said, I was tayach. Tayach is plastering, okay? He said, you would come to my house and do some work in my house. So I did work, and that's when I met my wife.
That was her daughter?
Her daughter, right. So we married at 1952.
How old was she? What was her name?
She was, my wife, she was 17-year-old, and says I was 21. And because of we had no family, and her parents, actually, her father had 3 sisters lived in New York. And they decide to go to America from Israel. They also came from Hungary to Beersheba, but again, so they decide to come to United States. So they thought they're going to take Judy, my wife, with them, okay, to New York. So Judy said, no, I'm not going to go if you are not coming either. And that time, Rabbi, I was one of the guys, Lemana Moledet. Lemana Moledet for the country. I wouldn't give up. I had a chance to come to America from Germany even, when I've been in Vienna. I never won. I always want to stay in Israel. I love that country. So I said no. And after a while, I don't want to tell the whole story, really what it happened with Solar Boneh. I got hurt with Solar Boneh because I became a little contractor, And the first movie in Beersheba, I took it from Soler Bonnet to do the stucco work over there, the plastering work, the stucco work, the tiach. And I took that from Soler Bonnet. I got few guys with me, work together. And one day I come home and I see my mailbox and see they calling for go to Kurs Tzalafim. All after that, I've been in a Palmach, in a Tzahal, all that fight and everything. I said, well, if I'm gonna go, I'll be in trouble when I come back. I'm gonna have no job, no money, no nothing. So I didn't win. But anyway, so what had happened? So I didn't win, and I stayed home. I'm not gonna go. At 12 o'clock came Mishtarat Tzvayit, took me in Mishmar HaNegev, Machaneh, and put me in Mishpat, and they put me in jail, to Beit Sohar. Biglar, I didn't show up to go to the course. I was 90 days, for no reason, with a heart feeling, here I am, for Leman HaMoledet, work hard, working hard. I try to earn my living, and here I wind up in jail, in army jail. I finished the 90 days, I came home, like I said, I had nothing. I've been home about 2-3 weeks, I got again אותו צו קריאה. Again, to go a new Tzalafim course. I did, and I decide, that's it. I give up. I said, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sell my house, what I built already for myself in Beersheba, and I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to America. And I came over then in Beersheba. At 1952, we married. At 1953, I had a son, Mordechai, who born. Rest in peace. He passed away 4 years ago in a thyroid cancer. And I had my wife, so my son Stephen, Mordechai, and I had only another son, George, called Uri. And I came to America with the 2 children. So actually, the way I said before, I decided to come to the United States. The United States was over here, my father-in-law, my wife's parents, and my mother-in-law. And I've been working people, working in a factory people. My father-in-law actually was a shoemaker, and making the ladders for the shoes, and so as my mother-in-law also. And I live in a 1-bedroom apartment out in Bronx, New York. So I came over there with the 2 children and my wife, and it was very hard to start because we came when we sold everything with the house in Beersheba. When we sold that, but the money what we had, what we got for the house, we spent it for the traveling, the airplane, and for the getting the affidavit and the papers. So we came over there, and it was very hard. When you got to New York, without no language, we didn't speak no English. I was 27-year-old, and I meant to start something. So I went to work. I went to work in a factory. Somebody told me there's a Jewish guy in Long Island, and he got a pipe factory, which is making electric pipes. So I went over there, and the wage cut, I believe, I got paid $1.35 an hour. $1.35 been traveling 2 hours one way in a subway, and walked another about 5, 6, 7 miles because I had no money to get the bus. So from the subway, I walked to the factory and back to the factory. I've been working 7 days 16 hours a day to earn a living. And I remember later on, we rent an apartment in a fourth floor, which is no elevator, a one-bedroom apartment, one bedroom and a bathroom and a living room, which is the children had a bedroom, and we had a couch. We opened it in the living room, and that's where we sleep, me and my wife. My wife, she went to work in Bronx. She was a nurse. She worked in Beersheba. She was a nurse. She worked in Hadassah. Many years. She was 16-year-old when she started working in Hadassah as a nurse. So she worked as a nurse. So she started to work in Bronx for a nursing home, actually, okay? And so I'm working in a factory over there, at least for a year and a half. And one day I met a guy, it was a Romanian, Jewish guy, Romanian guy, and I told him, I said, you know, in Israel, I was already a kablan. I was already working, and I worked for construction all my life. Can you hire me? He said, listen, in New York everything is union. And if you're not in a union, they catch you, you cannot work. But he said, I'm going to chance with you. Of course, we had no car, nothing. So he told me, wait in the corner, on the corner, I'm going to pick you up in the morning and I'm going to take you with me. Sometimes I wait 2 hours, hardly he came. He picked me up, he took me to Long Island, to Bronx, lived in Bronx, to Brooklyn, to Yonkers. By the time we worked, he had to go to collect money, this and that. So actually, I've been working, I would say, 14, 16, 18 hours for one salary, small salary. I believe something like, the factory paid me $1.35. Over here I've been paying $2 an hour. So I've been getting $2 an hour. So it was very hard, very hard. So I worked with this guy a couple of years. After that, he ran out of work. He told me, listen, Joe, I take you somewhere, is a friend of mine, who is a bigger contractor. He got around 10, 15 people. You're going to work with him, and I'm going to talk to him, and then, when I'm going to work, you come back again to me. And I was working very hard worker I was. Okay, so I went to work for that guy. And he paid me already $2.25 an hour. When this guy, this Romanian guy, Shlomovich, he told me, Joe, I got now some work, you come back work with me. So I went to, his name was Sigel, Leo Sigel. The company was Sengmore Construction. Two Jewish guys. He's from Poland, a Polish guy. He said, Joe, I told him, I said, well, a guy, Shlomo, which called me up, and he told me he wanted me to go back to work with him. He said, I give you $3, you don't go back, stay with me. So I stayed with him. And I was working with him, and all the time I had raised and raised and raised and raised. Finally, I became his foreman. But hardly spoke English. Now, that time, to work like a carpenter, you have to learn if you was a carpenter in Israel, over here you have to learn it again. The metric system went to this system over here. The nailing when we had no guns, nailing guns like today, we had skill saws, but no guns or whatever it is. So you have to know how to hold the nail and how to nail it fast. And this guy been working, building some of these 4-story apartment building with heavy beams, 4 by 12 beams, okay? We have to schlep and this and that. So I was his foreman. So one day over there, he told me, he said, Joe, no, then I met over there with a guy an Irish guy who was a young fella at that time. Now this was about at 1961. I met an Irish guy who also worked, and he already worked for me. I was a foreman already. And we worked together, so we worked together in New Jersey and Yonkers and in Brooklyn. And what happened one day, this guy, the Mr. Siegel, he ran short work in New York also. He told me, he said, Joel, I short work over here. I picked up some jobs in Maryland. I said, where is Maryland? Don't worry about it, far away from here. I take you over there. Well, I asked him, Mr. Siegel, all right, okay, you want it that way? When you want to do that? And also for this guy, what I was doing, after when I've been with him already about a year, and see I'm working, he built an apartment building. And when he sold the apartment building, and I was down in the basement, I've been fixing up skill saws, screw guns and stuff like that. Free, nothing, not pay for it, but to keep the job going. He said, okay. So he said, I'll take you with me. So he took me down over here in Maryland. Drove me down over here. He showed me, he got 3 projects over here. One a townhouse projects, one an apartment in Carrollton, a townhouse project in Beltsville, and a single family job. He said, well, I got all these jobs, and you're going to be over here and you're going to run these jobs. Well, for something new for me, New York work, again, is different altogether what they're building over here. But I learned it. I learned hard. In fact, in between that 12, 14, 16 hours when I worked in a factory, I was going to the school. Every evening I took the bus to Fordham Road and came home at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And 5 o'clock I was on my feet already waiting for Slomovitz to take me to the job. So I learned the language, started to learn the language, and a little bit learn the systems, you know, the inch and the yard situation and whatever, okay, the measuring situation. So it was very hard on me. So he brought me down over here, and he rented me an apartment. And he gave me a station wagon, a white station wagon. I never forgot that, an old white station, 1961, an old station wagon. So from there, I've been running the job. I did the apartment building, I did the townhouse and the single families. So a guy one day come to over here also, brought down guys bringing in from New York. We couldn't get guys over here, so working guys from New York. And one of them happened, this Irish guy who I met him also in New York. He brought him down over here, and I find out his name was Roach. He spelled his name R-O-C-H-E, not H-H-E. He was 20-year-old that time. So we worked over here, I finished the job over here. He said, Joel, he said, Joe, now we're going back to New York. I said, okay, Mr. Siegel, we go back to New York. We went to New York, one day we was working in New Jersey. And it was pouring, raining, so we couldn't work. So me and Roach started to talk. We said, you see, working union, if you're working union, you only got paid when you're working. If you're not working, you can stand over a half a day. A whole day, you're still not going to get no pay for it. So I told Roach, how about me and you, we go back to Maryland and we try to make a company ourselves. Roach said, listen, I'm 20-year-old, what I got to lose? He ain't got nothing, I got nothing. We both have got nothing, okay? No money, nothing. Roche had an old Volkswagen, and I had an old car. That old white car when I was driving at Mr. Siegel station wagon. We came down over here one day, and the place where I worked in Beltsville was Mr. Reiner, a Jewish guy. Bressler and Reiner. Bressler was some big shot in the Annapolis, and Reiner was a lawyer, a Jewish guy. I did for him the townhouses. I said, Mr. Reiner, I would like to start a business. I would like to start a business. When somebody gonna call and ask for reference, would you give a reference? Okay, Joe, all right, no problem. Here we go. I had a first guy, Willer, Jewish guy also. He asked me a question, how many guys you got working? I said 40. What number? He said, and you can provide. I said, yeah, ask Mr. Reiner. He's gonna tell you. He called up Mr. Reiner. Mr. Reiner said, well, Joe is a good foreman, a good job, did a good work, but he ain't got no company. He's worked for Siegel and Morgan. Same more counsel. Well, that didn't help me a bit. And I kept going, getting there's a report where it say where is jobs, who looking for contractor, whatever it is. Meanwhile, me and Roach, we went for a carpenter contractor and do him decks. So what we do, nighttime, me and Roach, we've been figuring plans, bidding jobs. We don't know what the hell we're bidding, what we've been bidding at. And daytime, we've been working and doing decks. Decks, floor decks. Joe is selling Joe's this, that. Daytime, when a guy, I went to interview, I had clothes with me, I dressed up nice, everything, looked like a man, like a contractor. When I came out from there, went back to the job and kept schlepping joists and this and that and then the decks and working. And Roach stayed over there and always doing the job. Well, this didn't work. So we tried then. I said, well, Roach, we need some money. How are we going to do? We know a guy been working for us. His name was John Sparazzini, Italian. Well, he's not, he's American. But he had a house in Yonkers. He's the only child and he had money. I said, I'm going to go talk to this guy. So I said, John, he was a Finnish carpenter, foreman. I said, John, work for the same company, for the same more, okay? I said, John, we would like to go in business, me and Roach. Will you come partner with us? He said, well, Joe, I cannot decide, he lives in Yonkers. Come talk to my wife. I went, he took me his house to Yonkers, while his wife over there, Kay, and I talked to her. And he had no children, John. Kay said, okay, I tell you what, John is going to stay over here in New York. You and Mort work over there. Whatever you guys spending, we're paying half of it. Shit, we've been on the top on that. But that money still wasn't enough. So we've been keep trying how we can go ahead. Finally, I met a guy, was an architect from New York, was doing rehab jobs. And also he did a 7-story high-rise in Arlington. But we only do the carpentry work, doors, windows, whatever, interior, whatever it is, not the brick, whatever, okay? And a roof, in the roof we've been doing the curbs and whatever it is, okay? I bid him a job, I gave him a price, a 7-story high-rise, 775 units. I gave him a price for $220,000. You're talking about that time. He laughed at me. He said, Joe, my lower bidder was $150,000. and I took 25. But I wouldn't give you even 150 because I don't know if you can do the job or not. I took the job $150,000. So me and Roach, and we took Johnny down also from New York already, and we worked on it. We was sweating like dogs, working 7 days to have got the work done so we can have a reputation, to have a reference if somebody calling. We finished the job. That was in Arlington at, I don't know what pipe was that anyway, and we finished the job. Later on, and then we start to pick up houses, this and that, and keep working, which is already work for us. Later on, the guy had in Silver Spring a rehab job, and he needs some people to help him out over there. And he had a nerve to tell me the lower bidder was $350,000. That had fooled us. But we did the job for $150,000. So can you imagine what we've been working, what we've been doing to get the work done? But we did it. So, that's the way it goes. Then, okay, now we start to go somewhere, we need an office. Somewhere to work from. So, in Adelphi, we rented a house for $175 a month. As a house, a small house, 3-story, in a basement. The basement we made an office. The first floor is a small kitchen, this and that, and upstairs we had 3 bedrooms. So me and my wife had a bedroom, the children and my children had a bedroom, and Roach and Johnny had a bedroom. And my wife been cooking and everything, and so and so. And we start to work from there. It was tough, very tough. We start to pick up jobs in Woodbridge, in Manassas. That time to go to Woodbridge, Manassas was 1 lane. So to get 7 o'clock to the job to Manassas, you have to get up 3 o'clock in the morning to leave the house. It was very hard. Then from Manassas, the same guy, Lee Rubinstein, he was the builder, I don't know if he's still around today or not, he had the same job, townhouses, in Manassas. So from Woodbridge, we would cut through 236 to Manassas. Well, what we've been doing? We tried to panelize jobs, so came up with a new idea, 2 panels. So the houses, you know, not to set up the job, the 2x4s and plywood and everything come, and you nail them together on the job, lay it down and nail it, we penalize it. All right, then how are we going to do that? What are we going to do? So we went out, we bought a big table saw, we bought a tractor with a platform, and schlepped it from Woodbridge to Manassas, from Manassas to Woodbridge, to get the work done. It was very hard, very hard. So we did that one. Finally, so me and Roach and Johnny, a Jew, an Irish, and an Italian, we had nothing. Oh yeah, then what happened later on, we already start to pick up jobs and everything else, and we start to build houses ourselves. Like this house over here, where we are in it. We built this house at 1973, and we built some other houses over here, and we've been selling it. We built some houses in Columbia, Maryland. So, and this way, we start to make money. And thank God, during the years, we made it very well. We became one of the bigger carpenter contractors in the metropolitan area. We had sometimes 200, 250 people working for us. We had an office at Silver Spring. Kensington, on Georgia Avenue, downtown Silver Spring. And so with the hard work, with everything, we did that very well. Of course, time was going here. I'm 85-year-old. Thank God. Baruch Hashem. And we keep going, that's all. And we did it, we made it, and now I'm retired. Which is, I'm not really retired. We still build some warehouses, so we work on it. And many other things we work on it. So we keep going.
Yay on!
So here we go. But if I would be again 35 or 40-year-old, I'm not talking about 28, 27, I would turn this world upside down. But that's what it is. And with that I said again, you know, Irish, and I appreciate, and also I appreciate, I got, like, you know, we lost Malmstein. You didn't like Malmstein because he was a cheap son of a gun, okay. Very cheap man was, I know that. But to me he was good. To me he was good because he put me into deals which is I never would have it. I never would make it. I mean, you know, the way it is, okay?
He introduced you.
That was, remember Roger, right? Who did the work over there. Remember I told you the story about it, right? He lived in Stafford, you know, Stafford, Virginia, Roger, right?
Right.
And him and his wife, they took care of some old people, aunt, uncle, whatever it was. With the thought, if one day, if they pass away, the property they had was a 90-acre, we're going to leave it for Roger and his wife. And it happened. And Roger was foreman for me, come to me, he said, Joe, I got a problem. I owed $200,000 for lawyers and everything, and I don't know what to do with the property. They want to just rob it away from me. What you can do? Maybe you can do something. I went to Malmstein, and Malmstein had the money. He had money. And I told David, I said, let's see what we can do. And David, we paid off the lawyers. We paid off everything with David money. We kept that property for 9 years, 8-9 years. And we sold that for $3.5 million. Not Malmstein, we never would do that. It was Malmstein, me and Roach.
And you paid what for it? What did you pay for it?
We paid for it, we paid about $500,000 altogether with lawyers and everything. Less than $500,000. And that's where we built our houses.
Good for you.
So, you know, it's been, you know, and many other things we said building houses, this and that, and we did very good, yeah, we did very good, yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
I lived over here in New York. Then at 1965, 63, I moved on to Maryland. And I had another girl born, Elizabeth. And in 1998, I lost my wife Judy in the lung cancer. So with painfully, I kept going, okay, until at 201, I met a lady who was visiting from Hungary over here, Julie, and I met her in my sister-in-law house, and we've been talking. She said she lost her husband, and I told her, you know, I lost my wife also, this and that. So I said, Julie, well, why don't we just keep continuing life, keep going? So we married.
And the rest is history.
And now we married 14 years.
Tell me how you got back together with Joseph. How did that happen?
With Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah, at 90 days.
So first
Joseph,
start,
yeah,
let me ask a second. I want you to tell us how long you were not able. When were you able? Once you got to Israel, when was your first communication with his? You were able to write him a letter. What was your first communication once you got to Israel? What was your first communication with Joseph? And then tell us how you got back together.
Right. Well, okay. Joseph, he been in East Germany. The Joseph, his story actually, he after the Second World War, after when he went back, when he was supposed to come with me to Israel, he couldn't get back because they closed the border. He went to Salzburg, and in Salzburg he was with some kind of people who they been
Refugees.
right. So he went back. He went back to Hungary. Okay, he went back to Hungary, to Budapest. One day in Budapest, after that, they had a birthday party, and they had a birthday party down in the Budapest, in the main street, in a Körút, in the MK Cafe, or the cafeteria. So his friend told him, he said, Joseph, you know how to sing. Why don't you sing us a little bit? So Joseph, he agreed, he sang, and some people who've been searching for these singers, okay, they passed by and they said, well, it was in a paper later on, who could be from our opera who is having good time with the people over there. So they went in and they find out his name is Joseph Engel. He never been singing nowhere except in the synagogue in Budapest, a little bit here, there. And came up a new report in the newspaper in Budapest. Here is the new Caruso. The whole world is paying attention on his voice. New tenor. So this way, Joseph, he became singing in an opera in Budapest. He been singing in an opera in Budapest and became a big in Budapest. The Hungarian government that was in East Germany, in the communist Germany. So the Hungarian government sent him to Germany to represent the country of Hungary, as an opera singer. And that time I was in Israel. And I've been thinking all the time how I can get Joseph out over here with his family, whatever. How can I do? And Joseph had 4 children already. He had Judy and Gabor and Peter and Andrea, which is Judy. She lives in Munich still. And she is in the Jewish organization and everything, herself, her daughter, the grandchildren, they're going to the Jewish school. They're going to Chabad in the Jewish school in Munich. And so I had a Hungarian lawyer over here, his name was Bonic. And Bonic had a friend of his over there in East Germany. So we tried to work it out how we can get him out over here. Finally, at 1970, the Hungarian government sent him to West Germany, to Munich, also to represent the country. They allowed him to get his family out to Munich also, to Germany. So the 2 lawyers worked it out, and from Israel, I sent him the affidavit, application and everything, how he can come over to the United States. So finally, at 1970, after 25 years, we didn't see each other, on and off been writing letters to each other. From Cyprus, I've been writing letter to him. So we had connection, but just by mail. Finally, at 1970, arrived to Dallas airport. Joseph, his wife, and the 4 children came to America. So now here we are as a happy family, me and my brother, thank God. Since that 45 years we are together. We're coming to the Chabad synagogue. We're enjoying the Gazinski family. Thank God we met them. And hopefully gonna last forever. And we're happy. And me and Julie, we married. And I got my daughter Lisa, she is married. I got beautiful grandchildren. So as Joseph got grandchildren, Joseph got great-grandchildren also. So here I came to Fulton, Maryland. And I came to Fulton, Maryland at 1963. I built my house over here in Fulton, Maryland. And I said my daughter live over here in Maryland. And we are happy, and we're coming to, like I said, we're going every Shabbat to the synagogue, to Bethesda, to Chabad, and we appreciate that. And may God give us many years, everything to be here, to get together. I'm already 85, over 85. My boy Joseph, he's gonna be 90 in October, thank God. And hopefully we're gonna last more and more. And God bless Israel. God bless Israel, yes. This picture, a photographer, a guy make a living or make picture, come to the village, which is that village, was a small village, I said, had no electricity, no roads, and a photographer came to the village, and he knocked on the door, and he comes to take out. They come out. So here, at 1936, we came out, my mother, my brother Joseph, my sister Aranka, and myself. And he made a picture. And that picture he made, I carried it through, all the way through to the war and everything until I got to United States. And I made this picture, blow a bigger picture out of it. So that's the picture, my mother, brother Joseph, Aranka sister, and myself. Then this picture is the same way as my father, Shandor Mordechai Engel. That's 1936. Then I said, we had a little brother, John Yanu, who born at 1940. And he also was 40-year-old when they took him to the ghetto concentration camp and took him to Auschwitz and killed him. I remember like today when the first letter, I got one letter from my mother after they took them away, and came that letter to us to Budapest, to me and my brother. And he said, Janu asking, Mom, when we're going to go home? They've been in a concentration camp in Vrable already. So that's him right there, 40-year-old, okay? Then this picture over here, Joseph and myself. That picture was made right after the Second World War. So I would say about 1945. Been made that picture over there, me and Joseph, in Budapest. This picture, it's 1960, by the Statue of Liberty, myself, Mordechai, and George, Uri. When we came to the United States, we came at 58, so this picture made at 1960 by the Statue of Liberty. And as I said, Mordechai, rest in peace, he passed away He had that throat cancer, so rest in peace. Then, this picture over here, at 1952, our wedding, myself, I was 21, and Judy, she was 17. And she passed away at 1998 in a lung cancer. This picture over here, well, is made in Beersheba, the group of Beersheba, and you can see that time, the faces, that's all kind of people from, the immigrant came from Romania, this guy is from Romania, this guy is from Casablanca, and etc., and myself, I was actually a soldier away at that time, and my friend Hanoch. And here I am right here, that's me, this is me, and that's my friend Hanoch, and in Beersheba, there are all kind of people. Now, this one over here, this picture over here, the Seder over here in my garage. Every year, I set up the garage as a room, finished room, and every year, and every Pesach, we had 40, 50, 60 people. Here is my wife Julie is right there, myself, Joseph, myself, my grandchildren. Here is my granddaughter reading the Haggadah, the Manishtana, and on and on. And so that's over here in my house in Fulton, in a garage. This picture over here is my son Mordechai, rest in peace. The rabbi made that picture. Thank you very much for reading the Torah. Me and Stephen. And this picture over here is myself and my wife Julie. We married 14 years. That's it. This picture, it made Joseph, my brother Joseph, himself and his wife Livia, she passed away at 2005, and Joseph, their 50th anniversary, which is here is Joseph, his wife Livia, my wife Judy, myself, and my granddaughter Serena, my daughter Lisa, her husband Kenny, and a baby who is 21-year-old, was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Joseph's son Peter, he lives in Las Vegas. My son Stephen, who passed away. My other son George. Joseph's granddaughter, Joseph's daughter, her husband. The Judy lives in Munich with her husband and a daughter. Joseph's granddaughter, grandson Danny. Joseph's son Gabor, he lives in San Diego. His wife, his 2 daughters, and Jason, one of his Joseph's grandson. And that's the family. This one, my uncle in Hedera, and with his wife, that picture. This one over here.
Your uncle, that's your father's brother?
My father's brother, right. He lived in Hedera, Yitzhak Engel and his wife. Okay? And this one over here, Judy, my wife, lighting candle, Shabbat candles. Okay? And this one is Stephen and his wife. and that's about it. I mean, over here, right? I want to show you the next one, okay? You come to another room, right? Come to that. What I want to show you in this room over here, which is first of all, okay, go ahead, just if you're gonna come in. You see over here this picture over here, you know, see these three, you these three guys, you know these three guys over here. You know them?
Yeah, sure do.
Okay. The rabbi putting tefillin on George. Right? And again, Stephen and myself. Then here is the rabbi. Okay.
All right.
Here is the rabbi putting on tefillin on Leslie. Remember Leslie, right? Right?
Yeah.
And also over here, I don't know, that's Sandy? Oh yeah, Sandy, myself and Joseph, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually me.
Yes. And okay, let me see over here. Yeah, well, you know what I like? That picture over there, Rabbi and Mother, in Shabbat, blessing the children. Okay, and this one you remember, you gave it to me. Remember this one, Rabbi? You gave it to me, this one. That was Sandy. Sandy gave it to me, right? The Jewish learning, you know, the
Oh, yeah, from the classes.
for the class, right? Yeah. Got it?
Yeah.
And this one, also, I don't know that Judy got it. I don't know
So 1 second.
what is that.
Hold on, I want to see. So I want to see your name on here.